Hello and welcome back to Urban Informatics Over Coffee. I am your host Ellen, and today we'll be talking about some OSM hints and tricks. This is not a beginner tutorial, this is just a few hints and tricks that I've picked up along the way, so you would already have your account, you would already be somewhat familiar with using it. So my first trick for today is to go into the history tab here before you go into actual editing the map. And in here, you can find all the individual change sets that are in an area. So if you zoom out, you get the bigger ones, but the more you zoom into an area, you can see all the little change sets as well. So this is helpful because if I select, say, this one, you can see when the area was changed, so in this case 13 days ago by myself. You could also leave discussion points to be sent to the changer. So in this case, I'd be sending a comment to myself to discuss what's going on in this area. If you think there's something wrong, if you have a question, if you're looking for some of your own hints and tricks from the area. So this one here, also done by me coincidentally, and I gave it the description of building age. So that's the description I gave it up there. So these changes up here are loosely related to the description I gave it. So if I press on this change, you can see that I changed this house to have the age of pre-2000, as it is the one that is not blue next to it. So this helps you keep on top of what's going on in an area that you're editing. If you're very deep into an area, putting in all the data you need, and you see something has changed, that's not quite right, you can come into the history and see what's going on. So my next hint and trick for the day, we are here in the Edit tab now, and I have just quickly put in this row of beautiful houses right here. And I learned this one the hard way, so hopefully you learn from my mistakes, but OpenStreetMap allows you to bulk edit, so you can select more than one thing by holding down the Shift key. So I have all these currently plain areas, but if I come over to the tab now, if I put in house as the type, they are suddenly now all houses. What else do I know? They're all on Hurdle Street here. So if I put in Hurdle Street in the suburb of Lador, Victoria, 3075, they also now all have this address. And then later, if I cared, I could go in and put in house numbers and whatnot. All these houses are also one story. I have no idea what the height is, but that's fine. But with any information, and if you're working on lots and lots of, in this case, houses, and a lot of the information is the same, you can bulk edit, and now you can see they all have the same information, and that just saved a lot of time from repeating that over and over again for different shapes. So there's trick number 2 for you. So we're back at the same beautiful row of houses again, and I fixed this one. This one was actually 2 stories, but this hint is all about us geographers wanting more and more information. So to do that, you can see you have your levels, height, address, which is all very basic, but if I wanted a more in-depth look at what the housing is doing in an area, we can add more information. And they have tags for almost anything. Say I wanted building age, if I spelt that correctly. And this house is probably pre-2000, but I'm just eyeballing it at the moment based off the roof type. Say this one looks old, this one looks old. Hitting shift and not control. These ones all look fairly old, so they're all probably pre-2000. 2000, and this one, which is a bit newer, is probably post 2000, but I'm just eyeballing this. You could be more scientific. Anything to your heart's desire, really. Land use, you could go residential. What else could we add? We could add building material. Brick. And I did look at this house on Google Maps. I'm not just making this up. What else could we add? Building color. This was a grey color, so that'll do. So any information you have, you can put in your OpenStreetsMap data, and the more information, the better the data source is in terms of analysis and all that jazz. So you're not limited to what is immediately provided in your feature bar. You can do whatever you like. My next little hint or trick is, well, it should be a quick one, and that is you should check your work. OpenStreetsMap, the aerial it uses, isn't always up to date. So depending on how accurate you want your information, you should double check what you're looking at. So here's one I prepared earlier. You can see that I've drawn 3 individual semi-detached houses on this lot that has nothing. And this one, which has a house in it, also has 3 individual semi-detached lots in its place, because if you check something that's more recent, like near maps, you can see on those same plots of land they have since been developed and knocked down. You can also see that this is probably an abandoned construction site because they are still in the same state of construction as they are here. So this is if you're pedantic like I was in terms of getting the correct numbers of how many semi-detached versus detached houses there are. So don't always trust OpenStreetsMaps if you want an up-to-date aerial. That's just that little tip. So my last hint and or trick for this video is getting height data into OSM. So we've returned to our beautiful row of houses here. And to do this, the easiest way to find this information I found was with the Digital Twin Victoria website. So they have blocks for the buildings, and they have some basic information regarding this. So this is this pesky double-story house in my row of single-story houses. You can see that Digital Twin says it is 2 floors and that its height is 6.53 meters. So if we go back to OSM, zoom in on our house, we can add a tag for height if it doesn't appear and make it 6.43 meters. This is tedious because you have to do it one at a time rather than the data just being there, but for no other way to get the height information into OSM, this is a good way to do it. But back to my previous hint and or trick, I found that Digital Twin Victoria isn't always accurate. Sometimes it'll say that what is a double-story building will be a single-story building. And of course, the heights from Digital Twin are not always the most accurate. I think they measure it to the eave height as opposed to the roof height. But if you're just doing some basic, block modeling in your models, then this will do. 3ds Max will pull out this height data and give you a nice building volume. It'll also appear in Mapbox as well. So if you put in the heights you care about, then you can see them in the other places that you need them. I hope you enjoyed my little tips and tricks session, and I hope your coffee didn't get too cold as you got carried away with the exciting OSM stuff you can now do with your newfound knowledge. But thank you, and see you in the next video.